Good morning, students. I hope all of you are taking care of yourself and following all the precautions that you are going to take for the safety from the corona. So children, today we are going to discuss our 8th chapter, that is 5 kingdom classification in detail. In this chapter we will discuss about various ways of classification in the form of the phylums and the classes. Okay, let's begin the chapter. Now children, what is classification? Classification of living organism means arrangement of the organism into groups or subgroups depending upon their similarities and dissimilarities. So for studying the diversity in the living organisms, the organisms are classified into a 5 kingdom classification. Before discussing about, first get familiar with some levels of higher diversity that been classified. First of all, we will discuss about the species. Now what are the species? Species mean an organism of a particular kind whose members can interbreed among themselves to produce their fertile young ones. Like for example, you can say cats. All the cats, they will interbreed among themselves and produce the cats only. So same type of the organism will be produced. Like horse and donkey, these are our two different species and both have some numerous breeds. So all the breeds of horse and those of donkey can interbreed among themselves to produce the fertile young ones. So now the second category, which are higher than species, next one is genus. Now what is genus? Similar species that constitutes the next higher category, that is known as genus. Just I can give you one example. See, we have seen the crows around our home. So now the crows which are found in the jungle, they are totally different from the crows which are found in our plain area. You can look at these pictures also. They will be different in their features like size, color, beak. So the hill crow and the house crow, these are the two different species, but actually they cannot interbreed, but yet these crows are easily made up of, we can distinguish them from other birds. So actually, so means from outside they will be looked as a crows only. So they both are belonging to one genus that is known as the Corvus. Now children, after the next level after the genus is family. What is family? A group of genera with certain common characteristics that form a family. Just take the example of the lion and the tiger. Now their scientific names are given here, like the lion is Panthera leo and the tiger is Panthera tigris. These are totally different species, but they belong to same genus. This genus is Panthera and the genus is Felis, which is of the domestic cats. So you must be know both are, these are carnivorous animals, so they have certain characteristics similar. So they all will be belonging to same cat family, that is the Felidae, which includes the genus of the lion also as well as of the tiger. Now the next level is order. Now what is the order? A group of related families, they make a order, like the cat family Felidae, tigers and the lions, and the dog family Cnidae, in which come the dogs, fox and the jackals. They all are possessing some common features, and so they fall in the same order, that is the carnivora. The next hierarchy of the this classification is class. So related orders, they will constitute a class. For example, order of different animals like dog, cats, bat, whales, monkeys, even the human being, they fall in one common feature, that all are having the hairy skins. So this, they are together classified into a class known as the Mammalia. And the phylum, now note this can come in the one word question. Phylum is the largest division in the classification of plant and animals. And for example, the classes of different animals like mammals, birds, reptiles, frog, fishes, they together fall in one phylum, that is Chordata. Now what are Chordatas? Chordatas are which are having the backbone, which are having the notochord or the backbone. So they are falling together in one phylum. And kingdom is the largest division of the living beings. Now children, see, earlier there were just two kingdoms. So the organisms were just classified into two kingdoms, that was the plant and the animal. Two kingdoms were kingdom Plantae, that was including all the plants, and kingdom Animalia, that includes all the animals. But this schema has certain drawbacks, like for example, bacteria and fungi, both are plants, but they doesn't have any chlorophyll, so they do not carry out the photosynthesis. So we cannot classify them into a kingdom Plantae. So different kingdom was later on discovered. That was the kingdom Monera, which will include all the bacteria and some unicellular algae also. Then you can see some single cell organisms like Euglena that cannot be exclusively classified as plant or animal, because like the plant they have the chloroplast, but they have the mouth also to feed like the animals. So some characters they were showing of the plants, while some character they were showing of the animals. So that's why they were not, it was not easy to classify them into these two kingdoms. So after that, then later came a 5 kingdom classification. 5 kingdom classification is, so 5 kingdom classification, the 5 kingdoms under the recent scheme which we are following presently also, the kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, fungi, Plantae and Animalia. Now kingdom Monera, that includes all the unicellular or the prokaryotes. It mainly includes the bacteria, blue-green bacteria or some unicellular algae. And all these organisms are single celled. They have no organized or well-developed nucleus, and their just nuclear material is DNA, which is equally distributed in a nuclear membrane. And they are also devoid of certain membrane-bound organisms like mitochondria, chloroplast, that are absent. Now second kingdom is kingdom Protista. We are also calling it a Protocysta, that is a unicellular, but they are eukaryotes. Why they are eukaryotes? They have a well-defined nucleus. Organism which does not have well-defined nucleus, they are called as prokaryotes. Which are having the well-defined nucleus, they are known as eukaryotes. So they include both unicellular green autotrophic plants also, like the Chlamydomonas, or they can also be a unicellular non-green heterotrophic organism like Euglena also, amoeba or paramecium. Now the third kingdom comes kingdom fungi. That is multicellular eukaryotes, and they are saprophytic. Saprophytic means which are feeding on the dead and decaying matter. So most of the fungi, they fall in this category. For the bacteria it is kingdom Monera, fungi for it is kingdom fungi. There are many nucleus distributed in a continuous cytoplasm. Example like bread mold, yeast, penicillium, etc. Then comes the kingdom Plantae. Now kingdom Plantae, they are all are multicellular eukaryotes and autotrophic. Autotrophic means they can prepare their own food, and they have, as they have the chlorophyll, so they are self-nourishing. They are classified into this types. First one is the thallophytes, that form the algae, bryophytes, that are mosses, pteridophytes, that are ferns, then a gymnosperm, mostly the pine trees are coming in this category, then are angiosperm, which are the flowering plants. Gymnosperms are non-flowering plants. Now first thallophytes, thallophyta, that include all the algae. They are autotrophic as they contain chlorophyll, and they have a thallus like body, means we cannot how we can classify them? We cannot distinguish any part that this is a root, this is a stem or leaf. They are primarily aquatic. Now next comes the bryophyta. Bryophyta includes the mosses and the liverworts. That is the plant belong to this group have the plant body. So plant body that have the false root, means properly well developed structures are not there, but they will give a look of like their structures like rhizoids and their leaf like structures. They are mostly autotrophic. Next come pteridophytes. Now pteridophytes, that include all your ferns, and basically these group of plant, they have a plant body. They clearly we can distinguish between into the root, stem or leaves, and their leaves are often made up of leaflet like bearing spores are present on their undersurface. Next comes gymnosperms. Children, in mostly the exam this difference is coming between the gymnosperms and the angiosperms. So gymnosperm, these are cycas or pine which are non-flowering. So they bear naked seeds. The seeds are not enclosed in any fruits, and they are bearing a special structure that in the form of the cones. They can be bear both both male and female cones containing pollen and ovule respectively. So there can be either trees or shrubs. Next come the angiosperms. These includes all the flowering plants and plants belonging to this group are highly developed plant body. When we can easily distinguish these are their roots, stems, leaves, flowers, fruits, and their seeds are enclosed in a fruit. Further, they are divided in two types. We already discussed monocot if they are having the single cotyledon, if dicot that are having the two cotyledons. And the last comes the kingdom Animalia. Now, kingdom Animalia, all the animals fall in this category. There will be multicellular, eukaryotes, and heterotrophic. Heterotrophic means they cannot prepare their own food. These organisms will not have any cell wall. Cell wall is present only in the plants and without any chlorophyll. So here this is the general scheme is given. Sometimes this is only given, so you have to draw this scheme in your notebook also. Now next comes how to give the scientific name of the organisms. Now see children, common names are variable and sometimes confusing also. Different areas are having different names for particular plants or animals. For example, pumpkin or custard apples. Pumpkin in the local language are known by different names, like some people call it as Sitafal, Kasifal, Kumba, Petha, Kaddu. So sometimes what happens, a certain common name is not enough to indicate the particular species. Like if we are having two types of crows, we say that jungle crow or a house crow, but it doesn't mean that the jungle crow can never come to plain, or a plain crow cannot go to hills. So what is more important, that these two crows cannot interbreed, so they should have a different name because both are different species. So that's why an idea came that they should have certain scientific names. Scientific names means you must be knowing people from different countries are coming for their researches which are having different language. So it was found necessary that to eliminate any type of confusion by using local names, so they design a special system of scientific language of naming that name will be similar worldwide. Like for example, of the hill crow it will be Crowus macrohynus, and the house crow it will be Crowus splendens. So the first part always is name is given to the genus, so both the genus will be similar, and second part is indicating their species. So this naming of the organism, this method was known as the binominal nomenclature, and it was first introduced by the Linnaeus in 1707. So now children, here general difference is given between plantae and kingdom. This can also come in 3 marks also question, or it can come in the 5 marks question. So you can learn any 3 to 5 point which you feel easy. Now next we will discuss in detail about some names. See, there is specific way to write scientific name. Scientific names are always written in Roman script if they are in the printed form, as you can see. In the Roman script they will be written, and whenever, or in the italics, and when you are writing in the with the handwritten, they should always be underlined. And the first letter, like for example I can take example of man, the first letter of the first word that is representing their genus, that is homo, always it will be capital, and the second letter which is indicating the species name, that will be always be a small letter. Now here many organisms names are given, just go through and learn their name. Now children, next we are going to discuss about the 9 phylums of the animal kingdom which are coming to in detail in your syllabus. Now I will name one by name. See, you can see phylum, the Porifera, Cnidaria, Platyhelminthes, Nematoda, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata and Chordata. And children, from phylum first, that is from Porifera to Echinodermata, they are being classified into a specific group that are known as the invertebrates. Invertebrates means animals which are not having the backbone. And the last phylum, that is Chordata, that includes such animals which are having the backbone, so they are classified as the vertebrates. Now each phylum we will discuss in detail, and you have to learn two example of each. So now first phylum, first we are talking about the invertebrate phyla, that is from Porifera to Echinodermata. Now children, phylum Porifera, name itself is clear, these are the pore bearer animals which are having them, we can commonly call them as sponges. So these are the simplest multicellular animals. Their body have a hollow tube, you can see like this, hollow tubes are there, and there is no single mouth, but there are many openings present, and the body wall through which water can enter the body. So from this the water the sponges will capture, and a single large opening you can see at the top is there to exit for the water. A water can enter through many openings, but it can exit from only single opening. And its examples are like you can see scion, cyclone or bath sponge. Next come phylum Cnidaria. Cnidaria, they are also called as coelenterate. Coelenterate means they are sac-like animals. Example like hydra, jellyfish, sea anemone or corals. Sometimes in the odd one out they can give you the some examples. So you have to learn the example. You identify to which phylum this particular organism belongs. In Cnidaria, they have a two-layered body wall that encloses a single cavity where the full digestion takes place. And they have, you can see hair-like structures are there. These hair-like structures are known as tentacles. Basically, these tentacles are being used to catch the food organisms. And they are mostly found in the water. They are like very few in the fresh water. The corals, they will be developing a hard skeleton that will be made of calcium carbonate from the secretion. But these are not just like the bones. Now next phylum is phylum Platyhelminthes, that is of the flatworms. They are soft, flattened, unsegmented worm-like structure without any body cavity. And their also alimentary canal has single opening, just mouth. It doesn't have any anus. So they can be in a parasite like the liver fluke, tapeworm, that is a free-living planaria. Next come the phylum Nematode. These are the roundworms you can see. So they are long, you can, as you can see in the structure, cylindrical in the body, but the body does not have any segments. So they have a false body cavity, and their alimentary canal has two openings. They have anus also as well as mouth also. They are mostly parasitic, but some live free in the soil also, like hookworm, Ascaris. These are the examples. Next come phylum Annelida. Annelida, that is a segmented or ringworms like earthworm, leech, mearies. These fall in this. So body of annelid worm is cylindrical and divided into, you can see earthworm, many ring-like segments are present here. So they have very developed digestive system also, with alimentary canal that opens at both ends with the mouth and anus, and they have true body cavity that is known as coelom. And the mouth is simple opening at the front end, and it doesn't have any jaws, and anus is located at extreme hind end. So there different segments are there. You can see of the earthworm, they have shown in the detail also. And you must be knowing what is the economic importance of earthworm. People are special doing culture of the earthworms. So here just they have given the economic importance of earthworm. Just go through it. They aerates the cells, that burrows the cell, that helps in respiration of the roots of plants. They also keep exchanging the top soil with the lower soil. Their excreta is also rich in nitrogenous matter, which is required for plant growth. And presently earthworm are being used for the vermiculture also, for producing a high quality manure. Next come the arthropoda. Arthropoda are the which are having the jointed leg animals, and most of the species fall in this category. So this phylum has the largest number of the species in the animal kingdom. They have jointed limbs. The limbs are joined, one pair each on some or all the body segments. And mostly there's exoskeleton. I mean, the skeleton is made of a special protein that is known as chitin, and they cast off their exoskeleton during their growth in early. Yes, you can see in the cycles of the earthworm and all that. So then regrown, this is casting off and regrowing of the exoskeleton, that specially is known as the molting. So this is the definition of the molting. Now the next phylum is phylum Mollusca. The example includes snail, slug, oyster, mussel, clam. So these animals have a soft unsegmented body, but they will have a hard calcareous shell will be there. As you can see around the beaches and all that, there you can see them. They have muscular foot to help the locomotion and also act as a weapon in some case for the protective case also. Then come the phylum Echinodermata. These are which are having the spines. So they are called spiny scaled animal like spiny anteater, starfish, brittle star, these sea cucumber. These comes in this. So they are unsegmented marine animals. They have exoskeleton, but they have a surface is spiny. So they have radial symmetry. That is, they have similar part, usually 5, like you can see in the starfish, arranged regularly around a central point. And you can see in this way here the exercise is given of the animals with which phylum they are belonging. So in this way questions could be asked in the paper. Now the last phylum comes phylum Chordata. This is of the vertebrates. Now see, chordates, like we are having the backbone. Some are possessing a notochord, which is a rod-like structure present in the middle dorsal axis of the body. Except some few primitive animals, notochord is present in full life. It will not be replaced. But in some cases, it can be replaced by backbone, like in human beings. We are having the vertebral columns. So the chordate, they will possess a backbone. They are known as vertebrates. They have well-developed vertebral column, which is from main axis. And animals have a head also, like as we can say, we have a trunk also, and two pairs of appendages. In the fishes, they are having gill slits also. So further, vertebrates are children divided into 5 classes, which we will be discussing. The 5 includes fishes, frog, lizard, birds, and the hairy quadrupeds. See now children, I am just reading the summary of all these classification. These are the 5 classes. In detail it is given, just go through it. In the nutshell, they have given there all the features in this flowchart form also. First we will discuss about the kingdom Pisces, which belong to the fishes. They are mostly cold-blooded, aquatic, slimy, scaly skin, and they breathe through gills. Their heart is 2-chambered heart, and their fertilization is external. And basically, what is the locomotory organ? They locomote with the help of the fins. Now these fishes are further divided into 2 categories, that is the cartilaginous fishes and bony fishes. In cartilaginous fish, the body is made up of cartilage, like your shark and dogfish. And in bony fish, skeleton is made up of bones, like trout and the rohu. Now second class is of amphibia. Amphibia is of the amphibians. They are cold-blooded. Now what is cold-blooded animal? The animals whose body temperature changes according to the change in the temperature in the outside environment. So they mostly live in the water as well as, this is the one of the character. Amphibian are those organisms which can live both on land also as well as on the water. So they have slimy scale, they have gills also, and because they are living in the water, there they use the gills, and they can take living on the land also, so they are having lungs also for the respiration. They have 2 pairs of limbs, but their heart is 3-chambered. External fertilization, example is frog and salamander. Now next class is reptilia. Reptilia, all the reptiles come in this category. They are also cold-blooded, land animals. They have dry scaly skin. You can take the example of lizard, and they have the lungs for breathing. 2 pairs of limbs also, that is the hind limbs and the forelimbs are present. 3-chambered heart is there, and they lay leathery eggs, like example snake and lizard. Now next class is of the birds, aves. Now they are aerial, which can aerial related with the word with the air, which fly in the air. They are warm-blooded animals. Now what are warm-blooded animals? Whose body temperature remains the same. They are not being affected by the any change in the temperature in the outside environment. They have 4 limbs in front of in the form of the wings. Their skin is feathery, lungs they are having, and they also lay calcareous eggs, and their heart is 4-chambered. So you can see the complexity of the heart increases. First it was 2-chambered, then 3, then 4. And their example is, you can see parrot, crow and duck. The last is the most important class is Mammalia. Now we are following in this class only. We are also warm-blooded, means see our body temperature means 37 degrees Celsius only, whether it is winter, whether it is summer. So our body temperature does not change with the change in the temperature in the environment. So we are living all sort of habitat. We can live in the any type of the habitat. Hairy skins are there, lungs are there for breathing, 2 pairs of limbs, that is a hind limb and forelimbs are there. We have 4-chambered heart, giving birth to young ones. See, this is only the class which is giving the birth to the young ones. Mammary glands secrete the milk. External ears are there or pinna are there. Example like whale, dolphin, bat, dog, cat, etc. So this was the major 5 classes. Now what you have to learn in this chapter, I must make you very clear. All the phylums, and you can note down their specific points, you can make their characteristics and their examples, and then their classification of the all the 5 classes. So this was all about the classification of the chapter. Go through the chapter carefully and solve all the exercise. Thank you. Have a nice day.